Classmates, let's learn Flex layout together. Flex layout is a type of flexible layout that provides maximum flexibility for box models. In UniApp, it is recommended to use Flex layout. Elements using Flex layout are called Flex container. All their child elements automatically become member of the container, called Flex item. First, let's look at an illustration of a Flex container. You see, all elements using Flex layout are called Flex container. This entire area is the Flex container. Inside this container, the child elements are member of the container, called Flex item. This is the Flex item. A Flex container by default has two axes, one horizontal main axis and one vertical cross axis. The starting position of the main axis is called main start, and the ending position is called main end. The starting position of the cross axis is called cross start, and the ending position is called cross end. Flex items are arranged along the main axis by default. The space a single item occupies on the main axis is called main size, and on the vertical axis, it's called cross size. Now let's look at an example. Take a look at this layout. The View Components class attribute is box. The box style class display property is Flex, indicating that this view is a container, specifically a Flex container. Inside, there are 4 view components. Each view inside is a Flex item. The Flex direction property of this Flex container is roll, indicating its direction is horizontal. The width of this container is 750 rpx, and the default height is 100 vh. Let's examine the style of each item in the container. Each Flex item has a height and width of 150 rpx, a default background color of this red, a font size of 10 pounds, and a text color of white. This represents rounded corners. Setting the border radius property value to 50% means transforming the element's border into a circle. This is a flexible Flex item. See styles 1, 2, and 3. 1 has a background color set to red, so the background color of the first element is red. Style 2 sets the background color to coral. Style 3 sets the background color to forest green. The background color of the fourth element remains unchanged, defaulting to this red. This is a standard Flex layout. Here you can see Item 1, Item 2, Item 3, Item 4, these 4 styles. This is a standard Flex layout. You see, the standard layout style is like this. For the layout inside this, each item's layout style is like this, just as mentioned earlier. And the styles 1, 2, 3, 4 are the styles used for each item. Next, let's look at container properties. First, learn the Flex direction property. It determines the direction of the main axis. It has 4 property values. The first is roll, which means aligning with the left side. The second is roll reserve, which means aligning with the right side. Column means aligning vertically. Let's try the effect. In this item, select the box style. Change Flex direction to roll reserve and the item is reversed. Now change it to column. The item is arranged vertically from top to bottom. Many students said it wasn't the same as what they did themselves. That's because other properties were added here. If you remove the other properties, it's the default situation. This arranges the item according to the property values of flex direction. You can demonstrate them all. Then, vertically from top to bottom. This is vertically from bottom to top, with item 4 on top. Let's restore it to its original state. This is the first container property, flex direction. The second is the flex wrap property. By default, items are all arranged on one axis. If one axis is not enough, it can be wrapped. There are 4 items that can be arranged. If you add more items, it will look like this, requiring a new line arrangement, like from item 5 to item 14. This container uses the box 3 style. Look at the box 3 style. Set the flex wrap property of box 3 style to wrap. Wrap and arrange. If you use no wrap, now the item is arranged in a row, hasn't it? No line breaks. Change to wrap, and now the item is wrapped, isn't it? It's wrapped. Line wrapping can also be arranged in reverse order. This is the flex wrap property. It must have more items to achieve the effect. The third is the flex flow property. This property is a combination of the flex direction property and the flex wrap property. In this case, these 2 attributes are combined and abbreviated. Directly use flex flow to replace these 2 attributes. You see, this one means whether to wrap. Now it doesn't wrap. The flex flow property is a combination of the flex direction property and the flex wrap property. Keep the direction horizontal. Change to wrap. You see the direction changed to vertical. It has many forms. The flex flow property is the combination of the flex direction property and the flex wrap property. Another container property is justify content. Mainly define the alignment of items on the main axis. Return to this flex container. Look at the box style. The alignment of items on the main axis is center. Now the item is in the horizontal center of the container. Now the alignment of items on the main axis is flex start. Items are aligned to the left. You can also align the items to the right. These are the main alignment methods. Of course, there is space between, which means alignment at both ends. These are various justify content properties. Another container property is align items. Define how items are aligned on the cross-axis. That is, how items are aligned on the cross-axis. For example, set to flex start. The item is arranged at the top of the cross-axis. The cross-axis is this axis. Now the item is at the start of the cross-axis. You can also set it to flex end. You can also set it to center, which means the item is aligned in the middle of the cross-axis. Often used. Center means aligned in the middle. This is the align items property, which indicates how items are aligned on the cross-axis. Another property of the container is align content. This mainly applies when there are multiple main axes. How are the items aligned? If there is only one main axis, it doesn't work. It has no effect on the existing container, because it only has one main axis. but it works for this container because it has multiple main axes. It only applies to multiple main axes. Set align content property to flex start. You see the item aligned to the start of the cross axis. Set align content property to flex end. You see the item aligned to the start of the cross axis. This property is ineffective for the above single axis container, but it works for the following multi-axis container. These are the container properties introduced today. Next, let's take a look at the attributes of the item. Item attributes refer to each flex item's attributes within the flex container. There are a total of 6 attributes. There's the order attribute, and also the flex grow attribute, and so on. Not all attributes need to be used simultaneously. First, let's look at the order attribute. The order attribute defines the order of the items. For example, for this flex container, the default order inside is items 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, define the order property for the style of 1. The attribute value is 3. You see, where does item 1 move to? It moves backward. It moves to the last position. Let's individually set the order attribute for each flex item style. Everyone, take a look. Now, look at the order of the items. The order of all items has changed, because the order attribute has been used, changing the order of flex items. This attribute needs to be set individually for each item, so it's an item attribute. The second one is the flex grow attribute. It defines the enlargement ratio of the item space. If the flex grow attribute values of all items are 1, then the remaining space is equally divided. If one item's flex grow attribute value is 2, while the others are 1, the former occupies twice the space. Let's see here. In the item style, set the flex grow attribute to 1. Everyone, see, the items will evenly occupy the entire space. Next, look at the flex shrink attribute. It defines the shrinkage ratio of the item. This is proportional shrinkage. This attribute is less commonly used. There's also the flex basis attribute. These 4 items are currently of equal width. In the style of 1, set the flex basis attribute to 50%. You see, item 1 now occupies 50% of the width. Cut the flex basis attribute of item 1's style to 50%, and paste it into item 2's style. Now item 2 occupies 50% of the width. This attribute is more commonly used. There's also the flex attribute. In fact, the flex attribute is a shorthand for flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis attributes. Generally, when the flex attribute is set to 1, it means each item's flex grow attribute is 1, which is to evenly divide the entire space. The flex attribute set to 1 is very commonly used. The last one is the align self attribute. It allows individual items to have different alignment methods from other items. It's not used very often. This is what we've learned today about flex layout. Flex layout is recommended by UniApp. It's a powerful layout pattern, supported by almost all PC and mobile devices. However, to use flex layout flexibly, you need to understand all its attributes and practice diligently. That concludes this lesson. Thank you, everyone.